Hello, teacher Nino. I'm doing well, and you? Did you go for a walk already? Even though today is Sunday, but oh, yes, no worries. There was almost like not a lot of people. No, I don't want to say no one because actually there was two. It was I believe Alexis, and then Fluffy was here also. So, but yeah, hey Fluffy. When I noticed that and I had to go to a doctor's appointment, so I was a bit on a rush. So there was no ranting, no talking, nothing. It's just that I waited and there was no one, so I was like, okay, I will start the readings. Usually when I do this, I save time, and probably for you guys when you watch the replay, it's like easier to find, in the timestamps to find where the reading starts. And so yes. I'm fine. No, my dog is napping right now, so I'll go later. Yes, please respect his napping. His or hers, I don't know. I'm doing good. I have been going to the doctor a lot, and because I do have to get my checkup. Also, I have to get my lupus checked because I do have some like a sort of inflammation on the liver. So I have to. Well, I have been doing a diet, but I also have to check other inflammations that I do have. So I have been going to the specialist, and tomorrow I have to get a blood test again, a more complex one. So yeah, those. And about I know I told you guys that my dad's eye surgery, it was last week, and we couldn't do it because he forgot to apply the drops like 48 hours before the day of the surgery. I organized myself. That I in my mind I had everything listed about what he had to do hours before the day in that same day of the surgery. but about, the 48 hours before, he was supposed to remember that, and he didn't. So we lost the appointment. We couldn't go because he didn't do that. So now we have to wait for another date to be available, to reschedule. And I don't know when that is going to be, but oh my, I was so frustrated with myself and with him because, he doesn't read. He just, he had the paper and he just doesn't read. He's very lazy in that sense. And I had a lot of things on my mind as well, because I had to take pills also that, they did prescribe for me a couple of weeks ago. So I also had to adjust, my day to having, to take pills and the diet, and also I had I had these online courses. Then I had to go to the school to get, to be present for another, kind of introducing classes and everything. So um there was a lot, and he just wasn't helpful, and I called him all of that. I told him, like, okay, I understand he's 80, so he is. Talked to me. She was like, well, this is why we always want, someone to come with him, so we explain things better. But it's not about explanation. He did understand, and also the paper was very clear. It was like a very long list of things. He bought everything that he needed. It's just that he didn't, he didn't, like, when you have like certain papers and you go through them. And also we worked really hard. The days before the surgery, we got really ready. We got the house in order. We cleaned everything. We did the grocery shopping, because we were like, okay, since you cannot move, since you cannot do, you cannot make effort with your body and not moving around and going somewhere. We're like, okay, we have to have everything like ready and accommodated at home, at his house. So we were super, like, pendant on that, on the environmental, I guess, comfortable and ready for him. Um, and then we forgot about that list, that it was really important. So next time I will set alarms on my phone, definitely, because I we have to work as a team. So I guess it's my fault as well, but I don't know. I don't know. I think I did glasses as well, because maybe I think I read it, but I didn't remember it. I remember, in my mind, I was stuck and fixated on, that the day of the surgery, 2 hours before, he had to apply certain drops, certain dry eye drops every 15 minutes. I remember that was like, yeah, that's what we have to do. And I didn't think of the 48 hours before, that he had to apply four, 4 times during those days. He had to apply, eye drops to get the eye ready, I guess. Yes. Yeah, I can reschedule, but since it's an insurance for elderly people here in my country, it's not the same as you having like a fancy, you know, healthcare kind of like assurance. There's difference in treatment. So of course, when it comes to the the healthcare insurance that he has is very shady, and I don't know. I'm positive that he's going to get it. Probably not now March, maybe April. So but yeah. But I was so angry at myself because is we did a lot. We prepare a lot, and just to think that neither of us, and also this is something that, my dad is also very, he has a great memory. He actually, it's just that there was something about that paper that instead of us, just, I don't know, place it like, I don't know, put it on the fridge, on the door of the fridge so we can see it, he just put it inside a drawer. So it was like we read it once, we read it twice the day that he came with it, and then he put it away. So it feels like, like, yeah, better organization from our part in that sense with that paper. Um, maybe we thought that when we read it, and also we were so fixated also on like, okay, the eye drops, because he had to buy, I think that there are like three eye drops, three kind of eye drops, and then there was a special, cleaning soap for him that he has to clean, the eyebrows and the not the eye, but it's, near the eyes, for the lashes and the um, so, and he got all of those very much on time. He got it like a week. As soon as they gave him like he went to the pharmacy. So I cannot say like, he doesn't understand what is going on. No, it's just that there was like, we forgot or we skipped that part of the 48 hours. I think that because, there was something about that tiny letter that said 48 hours, and then it came, the points. And in those points of the 38 hours before the surgery, there was, if he was taking aspirins or any kind of medication, that he had to stop, 48 hours, before. So I was like, when you're clicking, you're like, yeah, he doesn't take aspirins, we are cool. Then there's a part that says that he cannot, I don't know if it's about alcohol or what, and he doesn't drink. So I was like, check, we don't do that. And then there was something about not wearing makeup, and I was like, well, he doesn't wear makeup, so click, check. Like I was like, like, yeah, we got it, we got the things, check. And then I move on to the next point, that it was the day of the surgery. So yeah, I think that yeah. Will he be able to reuse the drops later? I think he will, because they're tiny like this. I hope they are enough, because I did apply some, when the night before I was organizing his papers. So I went through again the list, and that's when I read 48 hours, and I was like, no. So I was like, okay, he had to apply a drop, and I was like, okay, just in case, because we don't know, just in case they would be okay with him going without, doing that step. I was like, okay, apply the drop before you go to sleep, and then, you do the fasting. You do, just in case they are like, okay, you come anyway, or there's a way of fixing it. So I was like, okay, you apply, and I did apply the drops for him before the hour, until the place of the surgery opened, and I was able to make the call, and I was letting them know, like, okay, this happened, what do I do? And they were like, no, don't come. They were like, no, don't come, because no, if he didn't do all the steps, no. So yeah, but I guess they will work, they will be able to be reused. Yes, I probably got lost in the stress of managing. Yes, and also it's our first time going through a kind of surgery like this. We never, I think that, this is why I always am thinking about if I had, my mom or someone that I know, like going through this kind of preparation. And I think that is because, in the case of my mom, she was in the hospital already, or she was checked in the hospital already. So the part of the arrangement and everything, it was already done by the nurses, or staff in the hospital. So it was like, or for example, she was, I don't know, staying at the hospital for a kind of thing, and then they were like, okay, we will make an operation, so she has to be ready like this and this and this, and they would just let us know like, okay, it's going to be at this hour, and we would know. But it all happened inside the hospital. So I think that when in this case you have produced, um, and I think that it's a whole new experience for us. I didn't know anyone that would somehow be like, yeah, this is the experience, this is what you're supposed to do. So yeah, well, it's a learning experience. It's a frustrating one, but I guess, we learn. But yeah, yeah. And then with my health issues and everything, I'm also stressing inside because I'm like, oh my God, I hope that the lupus is not active, because that's very. It's not that it's not that it's worrying, but it's just very unexpected. It can happen. It can, for example, when you have lupus, the organs that it usually attacks is the liver or the kidneys, or the respiratory system. I had pneumonia when I was young. So I know that my lungs are okay because I don't smoke. I never smoked because I got traumatized by having pneumonia very young. So, but about the liver, I did notice that, since we are in summer, I told you guys, we will hang out, we will drink a beer or two, or maybe some sodas, and I think that probably those are the ones that were affecting my liver. Like somehow my liver is like, no, you cannot do that. Even though it's not that serious, it's not like I drink every day. Um, but I think that my liver was like, you are doing too much. So I have to pay attention also, because it's delicate. It's a delicate organ. Also, I have to take care of eating sweets, you know not eating processed foods, or oily kind of foods. So my food is very bland lately. It's very bland. It's very I don't want to say like it doesn't have a taste, because it does, but it feels like so so dry. But I'm making it. I'm not someone that I'm not like a crazy person for food. um, um, it's just that I have to take care, because these things are very silent, and you are okay until you're not, and it can come as a surprise, as a systematic. So it affects everything at once. So you have to remember that when you have an autoimmune disease, is the body attacking itself. So this is why. What happened? Am I silent? Can you hear me, Chacharino? Ah, okay. Okay. Ah, okay. Hey, Samara. Um, Okay. Okay, okay. Maybe it's that I did touch it with my hair when I moved. Yeah, the flavors are scary. Yes, definitely. I'm okay. I think that my liver, it's, and you know that I had these kidney stones and everything. I think that my liver, it's is asking for help. It's like somehow, it's like, we are not doing that well. And also the fact that my lifestyle is very sedentary, that also makes things worse. So I had to change that. I have to change that. It's like something is like, I cannot sustain. If we think about that, those kinds of situations, it feels like the tower. It feels like a tower moment. When somehow you are like, okay, it's not that you have to drastically change everything, because some things you cannot help, but I do have to do like a sort of rebuild of my either morning routine. I have to change, because somehow my system is asking me for me to, like, pay attention. You are not built like the others. Inside, of course, on the outside I look normal. This is something that a lot of people with lupus, we do go through this, that people don't believe us, or it's not that they don't believe us, it's just that there's not much information about lupus. So it's very complex, it's a very, it happens differently, so you don't know. This is why it makes us a bit like angry and frustrated, because we also don't have the answers. If we knew what happened, for me, I know it's emotional. Definitely I noticed that on myself. So once I calm down, I feel a bit better. But when it's about the organs in general, the organs is very sensitive. It's like somehow, they are asking you, like, it's like a red flag. They are like, pointing at, like, you need to change your diet, or you need to change your lifestyle. This is not working for us, so please, help. um yeah, go for walks. Yeah, I will start tomorrow. Yes. And also I do like being active. I'm someone that probably I struggle with starting, but once I get going, I love to be active. I love to be active. Actually, like, I think that, standing, and going and coming and going and just being busy, for me, it's like the best. My body, thank God, it had always felt like somehow rejuvenated when I have to move, I'm not someone that I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to sit down. No, probably because I always had jobs that they were like, I would be like standing, or I would be like walking here and there. So I'm used to that, enjoy it, I guess. But yeah, with this about having to work with a computer, having to be seated down, yeah, it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit like, it's good. I think that there's something about me, being like, wow, this is, I don't have all these people talking to me at once. I'm happy, I don't have the loud music, like, like I used to have, loud music, loud noises, of people talking at once, a lot of loud music. Yeah, loud music. I said it, bright lights and everything. So I think that I found a bit of, peace. but yeah, maybe my body doesn't move that much, but my mind does move a lot, because I do get emails, I do get messages like, can you do this for me? Oh, can you check this? Oh, can you do it? Can you call me? And so it feels like, even though I'm probably like, I have to sit, but I get constant messages. So, it feels like this, like you are not moving, but your mind is moving. Yes, I did. It's just that, I had this thing that I think that it only happens to me. The other day, I was done with an exercise and I wanted to stretch, and I couldn't reach a part of my I couldn't reach a part of my leg, and I think that I did stretch the wrong way, so I hurt myself here again. Like, so I think that definitely, like, exercising on my own is the no because I don't know why, because maybe because I was doing great, really, like I was doing everything perfectly, but that day I just couldn't reach my foot, so I think that I stretched the wrong way and I hurt my side. um so I think that I maybe should, just start with the 1 hour walk. I usually do 1 hour, it depends. But yeah, I usually do 1 hour of walking. So I can do that, and also, like being outdoors, talking to people. So I think that those will be better for me than just trying to exercise by myself, because I always hurt myself. I don't know why. And I was so happy because actually I was doing it very well, but I don't know what happened that day, and I just did a movement that I didn't have to do. But oh my God, it's just that I'm not made for exercising. I actually do it very well, but maybe I need assistance. I need someone to look at me and be like, don't do that or watch it, because somehow I get confident, and yeah, I can miss it. Yes, I felt the same, Catalina. When I started going for walks, I felt the same. I felt like my day started differently. I felt like, like, oh my God, like I'm so ready. And I was so proud of myself also, because um, I'm a very, like I always tell you, like it takes a while for me to start, but once I start, no one stops me. Like I'm very, driven in that sense. Like I like movement. I like it. Um so I think that for me it's not like, oh my God, I have to go for a walk. No, it's just that for me, if I leave it, if I quit for a while, then for me to start over, it takes a lot for me, because I'm like, no, today I cannot because I have to be here, or today I cannot do it because I have to go there. So today I have a busy morning, so I cannot. And now that I'm going to start working, I have to see if they change the hour that I enter the school. So if I enter like later, I can go in the mornings before I go to work. Yeah, don't force anything, especially when stretching. You're not supposed to hurt. Yeah. Classes can be fun way to socialize too, but you can still be guided by videos online. That there are plenty on YouTube. Yes. Yeah, if you've done it before, you can do it again. Restarting is always hard, but worth it. Yeah, but yeah, um, it's about restarting. I don't know if there's like a planet or something that is sort of touching something in my house, but it is touching. It's affecting. I believe it's Saturn in Aries. I believe we have Saturn in Aries, and I feel it very, very much on me. Like I feel it like, oh my God. I believe it's Saturn in Aries. Everyone is talking about it. Um, Also, I have the fourth house in Aries. On my fourth house, my home is in Aries. So I feel it. So my dad is in Aries. So, Saturn in Aries. It feels like my whole life. It feels like my whole life. Like I'm like, why? So probably, yeah, matters of the house, just like we were talking about, how we have to reschedule his eye surgery, that we missed that point, that we were so like, and maybe we were excited, or we were putting a lot of energy on, like, okay, like the house have to be ready, you have to be ready. We did all the technical things, but we forgot about details. So, and my dad is so not about details. He's not an organized person, and he's much more about spontaneity, about doing, like, oh, I remember I forgot something, I will go and get it now. And I'm like, no, you have to prepare yourself before. You have to organize yourself. And that part he doesn't understand about organization. He always is like, no, you are annoying, or you are being difficult again. He always blames me that I'm the one that, I'm annoying, or that, I'm being very picky about things, that it annoys him. It gets on his nerves also when he get like this. But he doesn't have, he is all about, I remember. No, you have to prepare yourself. Like, oh, no, no, no. And also, I don't know if there's like a Virgo also, like somehow transit, because it feels like this. I don't have a list for today, Chacharlina. I don't have a list. Yeah, this is my fourth house, yes. Aren't the eclipses coming soon? Yeah, Saturn in Aries. I'm so happy. My Saturn return is done, and the last years in Pisces felt like drowning. Oh, yeah, very confusing. Yeah. And now it feels like accelerated. I feel like, um, in my case, it reminds me of my family life. Conflict, people, not conflict, but people being loud, and I'm someone that personally, I don't like, it's not that I don't like conflict. I want peace, I want to feel secure in my own house. And I do have a lot of Aries people in me. My mom was a moon Aries. She was a Scorpio, but also a moon in Aries. So my dad in Aries, a lot of Aries. And then when I would go to work, my bosses would be Aries. So it feels like I just crave I just crave another kind of energy. In my family, I believe I'm one of the few that is an earth sign. I believe probably of my generation, my age, I was the first one, the first earth sign. Then all of them, they were like, there's a lot of Aquariuses also in my family, my cousins, there's a lot of Aquariuses in my nieces. There's my godson. I have one that is Aquarius, another one that is Libra. Um, my uncles, my aunts, all of them, Libra, Aquarius, like a lot of that energy. So a lot of detachment, but also they have moon in fire as well. So it's like, oh, I'm detaching, but I'm also attacking you. So my dad has moon in Aquarius. So it's like everyone, no one has the combination that I have, that is earth with water. So I'm the one that feels the emotions of the family. Like I'm the one that feels, like, oh my God, there's something here that is not, everyone is so loud, but if they don't resolve anything, it's just being loud. It's just talking. It's just gossiping, and no one resolves anything. And I think that's what, as an earth sign, I think that's what bothers me the most. It's like, what's the point of you just, talking and talking and talking and lashing at people if you are not going to resolve something. um um my nieces, I have two nieces, like my first nieces, the two of them are earth signs, thank God. One is a Capricorn and the other one is a Taurus. Um, um, the Capricorn one, I don't get that. I don't get with her that much because she is like, um, I don't know. There's something about her just having this. Um, she's a double Capricorn as well, Capricorn Sun and Moon. So having a difficult parents, and being the eldest child. She thinks that she's more mature. There's something about her attitude just being very, very much like, oh, I got this. Oh, I know this. Oh, I got this. Oh, I know about this. So it's impossible. Like the level of anxiety that the child has, it's unbelievable. So I cannot connect with her because she doesn't meet you. It feels like she wants to go away. She wants to be independent. I kind of understand what she's doing, but it's difficult for me to connect with her, because there's no emotionality in there. Then I have my other Taurus niece that she is the loveliest, the loveliest, because she is like the typical Taurus. She just wants to lay down and eat and just buy pretty things. She's all about the aesthetics, and she doesn't have a single worry. She goes through life. She's like, you're like, well, you're failing in this. And she's like, well, whatever. She's so chill. I want to learn from her. I swear, her mom, that is an Aries, and me, we are both like, we want to learn from this child. We want to learn, we must learn from this child because the Taurus energy is so unbothered that we have to learn to be like that. Because what a healthy child. Like, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I think that the way she views life is like, well, it will resolve at some point. She's the coolest. I just love her. She likes deepness, but I think that her view is so chill. She's like, well, whatever, power of attraction. At some point, things are going to be okay, and she's not worried. She's not loud, she just cares about herself and just being okay, and I love her. um at first it's like, she gets on your nerves because it feels like nothing bothers her, so it's like, can you please care a bit more, get involved a bit more? No, she's not. She just wants to be for the good time and the good things in life. She's not ready for drama. If there's some drama going on, she just she laughs and she just smiles and that's it. She doesn't even have an opinion. No, she's like, well, whatever. Um, but yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, if I have another a Pisces idol that I didn't read for yet, yes. You guys can recommend me, or if you have a subject or something that you want to look at, you can recommend it to me. Because today is like free topic because I don't, this is very Pisces. Like I'm just floating in here. I don't have anything prepared. I just brought cards just in case. What's her ascendant? Of which of my niece? Being a Taurus or a Sag for me is a dream. Yes. And also my North Node is in Taurus. So every time I see her, I'm like, I have to be her. I have to, learn, about that sort of um, that way of being so chill, like calm down, like it's not a big deal, like you are just, going crazy for nothing, you know. No, I don't know their ascendants. No, no. Yeah, she came to teach the family to relax. Yes. But in my family there's a lot of moon in Taurus, um and Taurus risings or Venus in the first house. It's just that from what I see about the women in my family that have moon in Taurus, is that they are very fixated on the material things. They are very fixated on saving money, or like not telling people that they're saving money, but they're saving money, or that they are, I don't want to say like they're hiding money, but it feels like there's a bit of drama about money. So there's something about them being worried about money all the time. So um, I don't think that they are, and they are very fixated on relationships also, on making it last, even if it's not worth it. Um, that's what I noticed, a bit of fixation, a bit of like obsession, even. Um, but I think that being in San Toros probably is better. It's like the example of really just being being, just be. You are okay, you are enough, like stop freaking out, and I admire. At first I had like, when I was younger, I had a lot of resistance towards people, because I was like, how can they be so chill? Like, I didn't get it. I was like, are they making fun of us? Like, like, are they playing some kind of joke? Because I didn't understand how you can be so, now people call it unbothered, but back then it was like, are you dumb? like, are you dumb that you're not seeing, the reality, what is going on, or you don't have a plan? So, mm, mm, mm-hmm. No, someone in Taurus, it can be very selfish as well. I noticed that they have this tendency, like I said, about saving money, and not, like, probably they save money for their people or for their own benefit. It's not like they're saving money to help someone. No, it's more about them securing their own stability. And they are very, like, there's something about them lying about not having, and then they are like, well, I just saved, a couple of thousands, and you're like, okay, but and it never lasts, because of that pettiness, because of that being so cheap, in that sense that you are like, you are telling everyone that you don't have, that you are broke, like, oh my god, I didn't buy this because I don't have money today, and you're like, okay, I understand you don't have. But then, surprisingly, they, at the end, they show up, with something that they wanted to have, or something that they wanted for themselves. And you're like, well, you said that you didn't have money, and now you have this. So it feels like it's a bit of like, it's a bit egotistic, because they do lie about, what they possess, and what it seems like they don't have to share. They don't have, they tell you that they don't have, when it's about sharing, like, you have to put your part. But when it's about saving for getting what you want, in that you do have it. So this is why there are things that they buy, they usually get broken, or they get stolen, or something happens to them, because there's something about, maybe it's about lies, or it's about, not coming clean about, like, it's great to have a hold of your finances. Of course, we are supposed to save, or be, mindful about money. But I think that lying about, like, oh yeah, I don't have, I'm broke, you're always telling people that you're broke, but then you come up with, it feels like you are bringing it upon yourself. It's not the same as, like, no, guys, I'm not spending money because I'm saving for something more important for me, than saying I'm broke, I don't have money. It's like a different, kind of, like, I don't know. Mm, hmm. It's so fascinating to see that some people have so many overlapping, big free. Yes, big free, yes, big free placements in family. I have that too in our family. Yes, it is. I find Taurus moon pretty chill in general, and having a supportive family. most of all the time. The friends with Taurus moon were the ones who had no issue with their parents. Crazy or not, so fascinated. Yeah, they also, yeah, they have a lot of loyalty for their, I notice, for their parents. Even if they hate their parents, they are like very loyal. They never talk bad about, or they never talk about trauma, or like, oh, they did this to me. No, yeah, that's true. I noticed that. And if you try to, somehow make them see like, oh, don't you think that that's odd? They're like, no. They're like, well, no. And you're like, okay. I think that in my case, I had a few conversations, with people that I grew up with, and I was like, for me, this happened, and my view was this. As always been like a moon Scorpio, I see beyond. I see memory, so I know what's happening. Um, I know about. I knew about like abuse or mistreatment. As a child, like I had like a clear view about like this is not right. And I never had it myself. I never went through, maybe my soul went through this, like in different lifetimes. But I knew about hurt and disappointment and just, being even betrayed, I guess, maybe in another lifetime. But I think that as a child, I was like, this is wrong, you know. Like you shouldn't treat a child like this. I knew it as a child, or probably like even looking at my other cousins that they were older than me, they would confide their things in me, and I was just younger than them, and they would be like, no, because this is going on in my house. They leave me alone, and I go to school, and I have to babysit my brothers, and there was like a lot of, a lot of like bad situations happening. But I heard it from the child, because we were both children, um, and so from a very young age, I understood how sometimes when you have family members that they are like, oh, I did the best for you when you were a child. I did, of course, that you do what you can with what you have. But if you hear the child's version, sometimes you're like, it's not like that, actually, like you remember. um so this is why I'm like, it's okay if you want um to decorate a certain memory if it makes you happy. But for me, it's like I remember differently. I seen differently. I notice things differently. Or I don't think that uncle of mine, that guy got violent while he was drunk, I didn't find him funny back then. Or I didn't think that he was funny. Actually, I thought that he was dangerous. And if you ask other people, they're like, well, he always been like this. Well, for me, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to share a table. I don't want to have dinner with that kind of person, because that is a very unstable man. And I know he did things to his family. So, it's like, let's call it like it is. Let's tell it like it is. Or at least I tell myself, like, you know, there's certain people that gives you this sort of like, I'm not safe. So yes, I think there was a study that the younger the children are, the most perceptive and even imaginative they can be, because we are not conditioned completely yet. Yes, yes. Also, the other day I was thinking, I was reflecting about, what is it about my relationship, or my view of marriage, marriage, or, because actually I believe I'm a very romantic person. So, and I had relationships, where I could have gotten married, and everything. So I don't think that I never had it, and I don't think that I think that it even is a possibility for me. But and I was like, my mom, she was married for a very long time with my dad, and they had their issues. Of course, at my house, like arguments. I never heard arguments between them because my mom was very silent. I just didn't witness them, but I'm sure there was, because later, as an adult, she would tell me things. But the thing about me, my relationship with, I think that what influenced me about me having like a sort of cautious nature about men and relationships is because I remember we would go to, certain family members getting married. And I would be like, I don't know, I would be like 9, 10 years old. And I remember being so happy. I remember even going to my, I don't know, the daughter of my neighbors back then, that it was her wedding, and she was so young. And I was like, oh, there's a princess, because she was dressed like the bride, with a huge dress. And I was like, that's so cool. And there was party, and everyone was celebrated. Back then, the whole neighborhood celebrated, when someone got married. So I went to weddings, and then, but something strange happened, because I remember those women that got married, maybe a couple of weeks or even months later, they would separate. So for me, it was, I remember I had this, she wasn't like my cousin or something, but she was from like a niece of my mom, from my mom's side. And we went to her house, um, her parents' house, and she was in there, and she had a very small child. And I was sitting in there, I don't know, and I was just, in there in the living room, and I would ask her like, oh, what about the father of your child? Because she had the child, and she was sitting in there just very lonely, and I remember how everything changed, because from being this happy bride to, being all alone and so sad and serious. And she, I think that she told me, I remember she told me like, that he was mean to her, that he treated her bad, and this is why she separated. And I was like processing that information, like, and I remember I was even like, maybe being empathic towards her. I was like, oh, that's so bad that you're going through this. I don't know, but I remember I had a whole conversation, just her and me. And she must be like a woman, also very young. Also, her, I believe she was in her 20s. She wasn't like old, or experienced, I would say. It was like her first boyfriend, and she got married, and now she had a child. But I remember her, just feeling like so sad, because it was like I have to move out in my parents' house. So there was something about her feeling like also like an outcast, or feeling like embarrassed, maybe, that she had to separate and live with her parents again, and being with a child. I don't know about the husband, where it went, but and I had also like another a young woman in my life, that I was like, I was at your wedding, and a couple of weeks or months later, you are talking bad about your husband, and you are like, oh, we separated, and you look miserable, like, because now you have a child, you have all these responsibilities, and you are all alone. So I remember those things. Like and I was like, I don't know if my attention went to those kind of, when you see the aftermath, or you see the resolution, like it's not like it's a happy ending for all of them, like, oh, I got married and I was happy, like ever after, like the fairy tales tell you, like, oh, I found the love of my life, I got married, and I was happy. So I think that maybe remembering those women in my life, um, maybe it was something about me being like, even if you get married, you don't have the security that this is going to work out. So I don't know. I don't know. I just think that must be something that I remember, um, because from my personal experience, my mom and my dad had been married like forever until she passed away. They never separated. I never seen them, fight or anything in front of me, at least, no. So, I don't have like an experience, a close experience to be like, I had this view of marriage because this happened. No, but I knew from a very early age that there was something about that marriages doesn't work and that the woman is left alone with the child, and I don't know why. Maybe you guys can help me understand. I don't know. I uncovered and initiated a break in my family as a young child just because I saw something and told my dad. Yeah, why that's happening. Sometimes it needs a child to shake off bad things. Yeah, kids are much more perceptive than we give them credit for. You just have to remember your own childhood for that. hmm Your Uranus aspect to your Venus makes you destined in a way to not follow whatever the norm in your culture that could hinder your individuality and freedom. Yeah, because for me it was like, for me it was like, and I like, it was like, okay, I received this because I was like, so there's a possibility that there's no happy ending after you get married. Like from a very young age, like I was like, I caught that. I was like, that there could be some darkness in that marriage. Like it's not like it ends there, like, oh, you get married and you're happy. No, and I think that maybe, from my perspective of, the closest women in my life, like especially my mom, and they were married for a very long time and they would stay like this. So for me it was like, well, I guess that's how it happens. But then I met these young brides and I was like, but they look miserable and they are all alone and they have to restart and they are I got this feeling of like, I'm so lonely. It's not just about like I separated and I don't know what to do. It's like they lost that spark. When you see a bride getting married and it's a festivity and everyone is happy, and then a couple of months later you see her like this, it's like, what happened to you? So mm, yeah, yeah. I started to question, like, you know, um, and also probably it has to do with my grandma, my dad's mother, that she lived with us. She lived with us. Um, she had, 6 children, and then the husband. My grandpa was a Gemini. My dad's father. So he would just be a womanizer. He would have different, affairs, while she lived in this sort of province with him, and then she moved to Buenos Aires with, her children, 6 children, and she had to start over, and then, when my dad and his older brother got not legal of age, I think that they started working at 13 years old just to pay the bills, and so how to help in the house. Um, so I always think about like my grandma also was like this. She always was very distrustful of men, she like a typical Scorpio, of course, but her presence was very strong, and 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 she probably was a bit like harsh on her children, because what she didn't get from her husband, she would expect it from her children, especially the men, like the males in the family. She would expect them to be the provider, to help in the house, to pay the bills, to be like what their father wasn't. So I always felt very sorry for my dad for that, because he had um, he had a very tough mother, um, and I always, every time I get authoritarian with my dad, I always think about like how I'm becoming my grandma, how I'm becoming my grandmother, because she was very tough. She was very like, like you have to do this, and she would tell you to your face like it is. She would rule the house, and I think that I'm becoming her, and I always try to choose, you know, refrain myself from that and be like, no, you cannot do that, because I think that my dad is a fighter. My dad is he's very strong. He doesn't hold grudges. He's very childlike. But at the same time, you know, he also has he has Mars in Pisces as well, just like me. So I know that he's very sensitive, and I know that he has been like all his life he had been pushed to sustain the family, sustain others. My mom also had like this, had a, like I said, like she was disabled in one leg, so he always had been there for others. So, and himself, he's a very active man, So I always think about how he had always been of service to others, and he didn't get to live his life, So now he doesn't do anything for himself. He's always thinking about like, how can I do things for others? And I'm like, you have to think about yourself first. But no, he loves communities. This is his moon in Aquarius, always talking to people, always giving advices to people, like, oh, you can get this, for a better price. I bought it from here. He's like, he wants to network. He wants to connect with random strangers. He's just very friendly and open like that. And I freak out because I'm like, no, you don't know those people, hush. But he just cannot help himself. I think that sometimes I'm like, he's just so nice, that sometimes I'm like, I worry about him, but at the same time I understand that his nature is very different from mine, because I know who I am, and I have confidence in myself. I have built myself. I had invested in myself. So I'm all about the self, and he doesn't have that. He's all about the others. So it's two different experiences, and and um and I don't want to be harsh on him, but sometimes I'm like, you need direction. You need someone to tell you like it is, because you sometimes don't see. And I'm someone that sees things, it's just that sometimes I'm like, I have to be more gentle. I have to be more gentle with him. I cannot, because sometimes I think about it and I'm like, the day that he's gone, I'm going to regret, if I treated him the wrong way, and if I talked to him in the wrong way, or if I said something hurtful, I'm going to regret it. So, I have to build, a better relationship with him, and not just being this sort of, um, ruthless mother, but that's what I seen. My grandma was like this, my mom was like this with me. So I guess, when you see it, for you, it's like it's normal to, it's the way you show love, but yes. Mm, yes, more unconventional about healing. Yes. I have to look for that. What is it? Inos is shuttle. Mhm. Ah, wow. Even your moon is in Swati is the is mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yes. But yeah, yeah, you guys, I think that yes, we have to be, you know, maybe it's because I'm getting older. So, and I always had like older parents. You know, I notice people of my age that they still have their grandparents. Their grandparents are alive. They have the both of their parents. You know, and for me, I lost my parents a long time ago. You know, and now I only have my dad, and my dad it's like it's 80. He could be my grandfather if you wanted to. I don't know, but this is why I think that my experience it feels like very orientated towards older people, and it's so interesting because also like going to the rheumatologist for the lupus is like being surrounded by older people, and every time I go to see my rheumatologist, I'm surrounded by older people, just people that have issues in their bones, and it's just them and me. And sometimes the rheumatologists, when they don't know me, they're like, "What are you doing here?" Because you seem to be walking okay. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I just have this." So yeah, yes, it's so interesting what you're describing, Fluffy. It's so interesting. It's just that for me, if I had to look it up, like I would get lost. So I'm so appreciative of people that know, because I try to remember, and sometimes I'm like, um, want to know something fun? My grandpa was still alive. He would be 116 this year. Wow. But yeah, be gentle to your parents, guys. This is my only advice. I know that there's a lot of people that their relationship with their parents is complex, their history is complex also, but sometimes this is why I think that yes, it's true that sometimes we the children sometimes we get caught up in our own emotions, or that sometimes we get rebellious with them, or we get frustrated with them, and it's like, well, they were actually nice to you, why are you like this? um, but for me, I guess that it's because I always felt like a lack of sincerity, not from my parents, but from my family. I always felt like everyone were fake. So, and it was really hard for me to be around these family members. It felt like I was surrounded by these people that they didn't really like me, or they didn't even really like my parents, or they would be, discriminatory against my mom because my mom is from another country. She didn't speak Spanish well. She had an accent. She had this disability. So I know that they would look down on her. So I think that those are the things that for me, if I am in an environment like this with people that don't want me, with people that they secretly are choosing fun of me or what I have, what I don't have. I don't want to be in a room with those people. Like I am like this. I just want to be where I'm appreciated. If you don't appreciate me, just I don't want to share a space with you. I don't have it in me. I don't have it, because I met such a beautiful people in my life, teachers, friends, co-workers, people that they were like nicer to me or they were more generous to me than my own family. So, or maybe it's because I'm an only child, so I have the liberty to be like, I can cut people off and I don't care. But there's something about me being like, you cannot, it's like no more trauma. It sounds like an NCT song, but it's like no more trauma. It's like let's end the trauma here. I don't care. Like oh, I'm like this because I had a tough childhood. Well, we all had tough childhoods, and we are still nice people. So I'm like no. My dad grew up fatherless, and him having to be a father to his brothers and sisters and provider at 12, 13 years old. He had to grow up fast, and he didn't have like a father figure. And his father actually hated him, and he nevertheless he is like the kindest, the most generous father to me. So your history doesn't define you, or what you went through doesn't define you. So I don't buy it I think that you can make the change. You can be a different adult. You can be better. um mm, because of the World War, my family is like missing a generation, and mine not. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Yes. I hate that I'm like this because I had a tough childhood. People, what do you, yeah, who do you think didn't have issues or problems in their childhood? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or they are like, for my children, I will do things differently. And I think that's, I mean, as a child, you know, sometimes we get, frustrated. We're like, oh, you didn't buy me this that I wanted when I was a child. You didn't get me this that I wanted when I was a child. But they probably gave you more. They gave you more of what they actually had. They maybe gave you attention, or they paid for a school for you, or they give you money for this. Like I think that sometimes we see it from our own lens, and we don't see where they come. I don't have children of my own, of course. I don't know, but I think that for me it's like for me having a child is like a whole responsibility. It's not just it's not about like, oh, you have them and then you see what you do with all of what other. No, it's a responsibility for life. um and you have to be, you know like there has to be room, and there has to be um you have to have, a sense of responsibility, because your life will never be the same. Once you have a child, it's not about you anymore. It's not about you anymore. Mm. And exactly, a couples who decide to have a baby to improve the relationship. Guys, you're bringing a life into this world. Yes. Yeah. You know why? Because now we have choices. We have the information. Centuries before us, women didn't have the information. You choose, like, you got married or you got thrown into a marriage with a man that maybe you didn't know, and it's like, well, you have to do it because you're a woman, and this is the only way that you can survive, or for the family. So the things were very limited for women, and for children as well. So I think that now that you do have access to information and possibilities, you do have to look very well, because you are being presented with possibilities. Like, even like, if you think about people like ranting on the internet about dating experience, when I would go on dates when I was very young, or even recently, like, going to having experience, dating someone, it was a very unique experience. That, yeah, you can talk to your friends about it, but it always, it's something that probably is very personal, because it feels like, you can tell me that you went through something similar with me. You don't know, the vibe between me and the person. So um I think that now there's a lot of like, you know options. There's a lot of options, and it's okay to take your time. It's okay to take your time. Just please take your time. Women and men, both. Take your time. If you're confused, instead of ruining someone's life, just ghost. If you have ghost, just ghost. Just disappear. But please don't fake it. Don't fake it. Don't fake, and don't have a double life, because that's also a possibility today. Mm. Even with pets are not toys. They're living beings and a responsibility. Mm. Yeah, people can be very stubborn about getting help, and as much as you can try to help someone, at the end they need to make the step themselves, nobody else. Yes. Yeah, sometimes this is something that I often get reminded, especially when you work with others, or when you are the one that is considered like wise, that sometimes it's better for the person to take the initiative and your help, your guidance. Like, I need you to hear me out, or I need to say something, or I need someone to talk to. But if they don't do it, like, the amount of people that I heard saying this, like, oh, you're so great of a therapist. I will tell my husband, you have to meet my husband. I have to get my husband to get an appointment with you, because he has some issues, and he would do him very well. And I always tell them, like, if your husband wants to start therapy, he should contact me. It's not about you sending him to me. He's not a package. He's not your child. And even if it's your child, you should also talk it with your child. What does your child want? Um, but I think that there's something about, like, we sometimes we want to fix others. We think oh, therapy is good for me. You should do therapy. And it's not like that. It depends on what the other person needs. It depends. It's so different. It's so different. To be at the right time. It has to be the right timing. Sometimes some things have to happen. For example, when you're mourning someone, when you're going through grief, when you're going through sickness, when you're dealing with an illness, when you're dealing with a breakup, sometimes those things trigger a certain necessity for us to look within, to be like, okay, I feel like certain things about my life are falling apart. I need help, or I need to talk to someone about this. And just talking really helps. And I know I'm saying this from the perspective of someone that has been as a nurse in the first house. So I'm very communicative myself. It had helped me. It had helped me. It had enlightened me. It had given me clarity, because I come from family, friends, people in general. They would always be this awkward silence, like, okay, yeah, like I have something to tell you, but I will not tell you, or you have to guess what is going on, or you have to, like, no, we don't talk about this here. So it feels like there's a lot of silence, that it feels like a punishment. So for me, I've always been very disruptive in the sense of, like, why don't we talk about it? But it's not from a place of, like, I'm shouting, and, like, because I'm not an aggressive person, not at all. But I'm like, I feel liberated when I can, from my own point of view, say it like I think that it is. Like, I need to say it out loud. I need to say it. Then if you want to take it or not, it's up to you. But I need to say it. I think that when people just keep it to themselves is worst, because you make up all these scenarios of, like, yeah, I'm not talking to this person because I'm sure that they think this and this. And maybe no, it's just a perception. It's just a perception in your mind. Mm. Yeah, it's just that, there's about empathy. You have to be very careful with empathy, or about, understanding certain situations, because I think that there's a lot of people that they hide behind, like, oh, I had this traumatic, because I seen it. I had this traumatic childhood. My mother, my father, they did this to me, or my I don't know, ex girlfriend, ex boyfriend. So, and you're like, okay, yeah, I understand, and the more you go, the more you go, and you're like, okay, it's been a while. How are you? How is your relationship with the others? You know, how are you? How are you? What about you? You are an adult now. How do you navigate relationships? And there's people that they choose with that sort of badge of, like, no, I had a traumatic childhood, or not traumatic. It's not even traumatic. Actually, some of them have the best parents or the best relationships, but there's something about them be like, I was wrong. I was wrong, so I feel like, someone wronged me. So in my relationships, I'm going to bring this, and then I'm going to excuse myself. So you have to be very careful with that, because at first, when you meet people and you listen to the stories and where they come from, you're like, yeah, I understand. I understand that was awful. You're like, okay, but what about you today? And it's not so much about how because they have a good narrative. So you're like, yeah, I'm listening. And then they, every time something, they make a mistake on, or they hurt someone, or they hurt their partner. And you're like, okay, what made you do that? Oh no, it's because, they made me angry because this and this, and, my childhood. And it's like, but where is the responsibility in that? You know, sometimes we have to go back to ourselves. This is why I'm like, yeah, I understand, but what about you, the person now? You are 40, 50 years old, and you are still carrying that. as like an excuse of they, when someone tells you they made me do it or they made me be like this, but just always active listening, always listen, because sometimes things are not like they tell you. So it's like, we have to be better. Or do you want to be better, or do you want to be stuck in this? Because there's some people that they don't stop. There's a constant loop of like, well, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, and this is why I'm like this, and this is mm, mm-hmm. Because at first when you hear them, you're like, oh my god, like, you empathize and you're like, wow, that's so, oh, and also I think that it's so, people are so complex, because on the other hand, you have people that went through wars and they make different decisions, or they are able to move on, and they were hurt the most. So I always have this like, I'm amazed by our abilities, how we all have different abilities, and how sometimes we can be stubborn and we just get stuck in that, oh, because they didn't give me this, they didn't give me this, they didn't, and it's so, it's like, wow, like, there's people that with what you have, with a tiny bit of what you had, they would have done a lot. But I guess it's resilience. When you are a very resilient person, you just advance, or you are able to move on. And there's people that are not able to move on. And in this case, I say it from my own experience. I'm someone that is really hard for me to let go. It's really hard for me to let go. If you do something to me that I don't like it, it's going to take me years probably to get over it. So, but I can do it with the help of others, because I always need, like, guidance in that sense. Because also, I'm someone that probably I'm like, I'm going to get out eventually, or I'm going to let it go eventually. No, on my own, I'm not going to let it go. So I need someone to help me, but I recognize it in myself. I have a pattern of not letting go of things. I have a pattern, and I only hurt myself because I don't, I get stuck. I get stuck. And I'm like, and I don't see it in myself, but I get stuck and I don't advance. So even if I advance physically and I move and I don't know, and I move out and years pass and I change my hair and now I look older, there are certain things that is really hard for me to move on. So this is why I understand that sometimes we need help, because we are so, sometimes I feel pity for myself. I'm like, wow, you are very stubborn. You really have a very, fixating nature that is really hard for me, to maybe move on from things that people are like, well, that happened to me and I just got up and I moved on. And I admire that very much, but I learned that I can do it myself. Once I had the proper, guidance, or the proper, therapeutic, company or assistance, I was able to see that I can do it, that this is not me, that, oh, it's not like, oh, I'm a stubborn. No, you can change if you want to, if you're ready, you can change. But the first thing that you have to do is acknowledge that maybe you are the one, you are the problem. Like, and it's not the problem, because it's more like you are like a sort of like blockage to yourself. You are blocking your own potential. you're blocking yourself because you're stuck and you cannot advance. You're stuck in a memory, you're stuck, in a situation. So I think that it's very liberating to know, like, well, now that you know, what are you going to do about it? So for me, it has been a great experience, to go to therapy, to talk to a stranger about my things, to feel secure in a place of confidentiality, of trusting, meeting very trusting people also have been essential for me. Meeting kind and compassionate people that will not judge me, they will not criticize me, they will not go and tell others, and I think that I found my safe place, and that I can also laugh at myself. I can laugh at myself, and just that is not that big of a deal. And I think that is really interesting to recognize that sometimes, you are your own blockage. Yes. That it is simple as that. That sometimes you have to turn, you have to change, you have to shift, and it's not that the world is against you. you know mm. For me, it depends to get hurt. It tends to get hurt at some point when I feel empathy for all sides, but I was still wrong and my bad feelings won't go away. But I start feeling guilty because I understand why it happened. Mm. Yeah, it's a tough balance, and you'll notice with time people who don't take responsibility ever. If you criticize them about their behavior, okay, it's just because of this external factor, never themselves. I think people who got it hard and are able to move on should be looked as inspiration and not as comparison. Else, yeah, you can have people who are going to feel completely worthless and weak. Yeah, like hard to forgive people or something or events that happen. Marisa pointing out the issues I'm currently dealing with. I feel called out. Yeah, forgiving people. I don't think that is because I forgive, but I don't forget. I don't forget. Like I feel like I don't forget. I don't. It's people. It's events. It's the way they make me feel. It's yeah. It can be, yeah. It doesn't have to be tragic, but it's something like I didn't like this experience, or I didn't like how you make me feel, so I don't forget. And it's not about forgiveness because I guess I forgive people, like, but there's something about me that just doesn't let go. Once I have like an unpleasant experience, I don't want to go back to that. I feel like I'm very inflexible in that sense, because once, like, I'm guarding myself from going through an unpleasant experience, but then I also deny myself the possibility to explore more. So um I think that flexibility for me is the key, and I'm a very rigid person. I'm very rigid. Like, I think that therapy has taught me to be more flexible, because I can also feel better, because I would literally is about being tense, or being not just mentally but also in the body. It's like you're like this, you're like this, like, oh, something is going to happen. you know um so for me, is like this, is recognizing that I have this, that I have this mechanism, that once I have like an experience that I don't like, I sort of close off, and I'm like, I will not do that anymore. And sometimes it's like, but it can be different next time. You have to let go. You have to also embrace not knowing. Not knowing. Okay. Yes, go. I think for me, I have experienced certain things that that have scared me, and even though I wanted to fix it with therapy as up, it has made me feel handicapped. Yeah, it's like being handicapped. Yes, it's like being handicapped. Exactly, Fluffy. It's that feeling. It's that feeling of like, I don't do that. I don't go there. It's like you get like fixated. I'm fixated. It's like you get like frozen in time. It feels like, hey, there's a part of you that stopped just in case, you know. Um, but do you have a recommendation, Chachalino, before you go? Do you want me to pull cards for someone? Sorry. Taku. It can be otros. Yamanaka. But yeah, this is a very Pisces kind of live stream, very much about feelings, but I think that it's I just I loved it because you know especially for me, when I was a child, I remember like I would get this label, or I would get labeled as that I was stubborn, or that, that, oh, you're always like this. It's not about calling me difficult, but it's like, oh, she always does this, or she's always like really hard to convince, once like, very stubborn. And I would always hate, like I would feel like that's not who I am. I'm not an stubborn person. I'm not a difficult person. Even I don't think that I'm inflexible like that. I have potential to be very flexible. It's just that even time standing, that my nature is very sensitive. Even though, yeah, my body freezes, or maybe my initiative, or my posture freezes, and I get very like rigid because I'm protecting myself from something. But inside, I'm very sensitive. So it's all about, nowadays, there's more like awareness about children that are highly sensitive. And I think that it has to do with that you don't know me. You don't know that, oh, because I don't know, the other children manage this well. And why aren't you like this? And it's the comparison. I always hated the comparisons. I remember I used to call my mom out on this because she would always compare me. I had a Gemini cousin that she was like the loveliest. She was so funny. She was so, full of energy. And I would just be like, leave me alone. Like I would be scared of her. I would be like seated away from her. I didn't like her energy. She was all jumping and coming and going, and I would be like, I don't want to be near you. I don't like you. And also she would want to like, there's something about her wanting to grab me and take me places and just being like, oh, let's do this and this. And I just don't like to be grabbed. I go by myself. Like I have, autonomy. I don't like to be carried away, like, oh, let's do something. No, you have to ask me if I want to do something, or if I want to play with you. You have to ask me for permission. And I think that for her, she was like this very bubbly, very much like jumping around, and I didn't like it. Also, she was like a very tall child. We were the same age, but she was like taller than me, like more like in body frame. She was bigger than me, so I would be like a bit like maybe like um, um like intimidated by her, and I would be very fragile, maybe skinny. So the way she would grab me, I would be like, no, I don't like it. Um, and my mom, she would always be like, but go play with her. You're always sitting here, stuck with me. And I would be like, I don't want to go. When you're like, no. Um, and I think that there's always this comparison, like, why aren't you more like the other kids? And I think and I'm always like, I always, when I had, the right environment, I would always be funny, be funny and goofy and just jumping around. And I would love to, participate on school plays, I would be very creative myself, and I would have a lot of friends. It's just that it depends on the environment. You have to give me room to blossom my personality. You cannot force me to, like, okay, now, now you have to, be ready. And if they want to play, you have to go with them. And I'm like, I don't know these people, or there's something about them that I don't like. I need time. I need time, and they just wouldn't understand. you know um and I always trusted my gut. If there's something that I don't like. And I don't know. Then, when I got older, we actually became really good friends with that cousin of mine. Actually, she's the sweetest. But yeah, we will always remember, when she remember when you were scared of me. And I was like, I wasn't scared of you. I was just intimidated because she was very, like, fast. She would run around, and I would be like, no, like, I don't do that. Like, just, like, you are a lad. Like, can you calm down? Like, unrelated, but have you seen the Wuthering Heights? I need to see it, but I want to find it in some platform, streaming platform. I don't want to go to the movies. They say that it's really bad. I don't like that guy. I don't like that actor. Mm-mm. Yeah, feeling misunderstood, basically. Yeah, and this norm that people have to fit into, but when you look at people's life, most, if not all, don't fit the norm. Nobody's normal, especially when it comes to mental health. Yeah, some just don't understand being sensitive to other energies. Yeah, yeah. Like, I need time. I need the perfect, not perfect, but I need time. I need time. This is very Saturn. I'm a late bloomer. Just give me time, and I will open up. But give me time. Don't waste your money on it. It's not even the actor's fault, even though they are miscast. Yeah, yeah. Hello, Reem. Wait, guys, I'm going to change this. Yeah, it's been a while. Yes. Life. We're talking about life, childhood, trauma, all together. Life is crazy. Yeah. Has something happened in K-pop? Yes, exactly. The need to feel safe is important. Yes, you have to, create a sort of atmosphere. I don't have a list today, so I'm open to suggestions. Yes, I'm completely disconnected from K-pop at the moment. Same. Tiffany got married, right? Tiffany and the actor. Remember when I pulled cards at the beginning of the reading of theirs? I said, I don't know if they are they going to get married, because I know I read for them there was something about them, becoming fiancés or want to get married soon. But I was like, are they? I felt like it was already on the going, like the marriage thing. Yeah, I love it for her. I like him. I like him for her. Like, and he loves her so much. I love it. I love it for her. I'm so happy for her. Usually when I read for certain couples, I'm like a bit like, but with them, I feel like it's going to be super fun. Did something happen? I think I read yesterday or there was a YouTuber that said that Jenny was jealous of this new jeans member that she got. She got like a brand deal with a very famous or a very important brand, and they said that Jenny was jealous. Like I was like, that this said, I don't know if this is like an insider or this girl. Mm, I don't think that Jenny would. would oh my god. Oh, Kali woke up. So yeah, party's over. Kali woke up. I love those songs. Rude by Heart to Hearts, I've Black Hole, and Kiki New Era. I love those songs. Great. I love them. They know you have views about everything. Just that it's like everyone wants a piece of Jenny. Everyone talks about Jenny. So looking at controversy. See, I told you. Didn't I said it? Didn't I say it last year? I say that, of course, we are in a new year now, but I say it for BTS. I say it like, you guys better play, you know, because these people are ruthless and they are going to find something that they don't approve of, something like either because you go live, because you don't go live, you post because you don't post. So I think that they should just remain mysterious until they come back. I don't know, because, but at the same time, remember the reading that I did for this year for BTS. Like, they have the Knight of Swords. So definitely, even if the randoms things come of their mouth, it's like, like they are like fighting this sort of system, of people wanting to tell them what to do or maybe how to behave, or, there must be something that they have here, that they cannot contain any, and that they are, I don't want to say they're eager to. These are like things that just come out, because they have to come out. Like, I think that they were silent for so long, or they were, away for so long, that there's certain things that you are like, I just, things that I would hold back, now I won't, Um, I'm lagging. What about now? Uh, he was swearing and giving the finger to his brother on camera. Really, that's the thing. They found the most backlash on the Korean side. I have major problem, specifically. Yeah, yeah. Aren't all the men in the industry like that? Like, oh my God, they don't let her be. But yeah, they will protect their careers always. Like the men, or it's their lifestyle, or it's, Mm, hmm. But at some point, I think that, remember, yes, saying some words, or not aggressive, but some kind of language that you're like, oh my God, I didn't expect it from him. Yeah, I think that it can happen. Mm, I don't know what is it, but I'm getting disconnected left and right. But the weather is. Now she's over here. She just woke up and decided that she wants to play behind the door. So now she's trying to open. Why, usually when I do the live streams, usually now, like, I want to start with the readings as soon as possible. So, you know, um, it's weird. Let's put some cards for JK. Let's see how he's doing about this. Let's see. No, I think that he's okay. It's been fun. Yeah. For JK, Princess of Swords, Page of Swords, it would be. We have Nine of Cups, a lot of drinking, and Three of Cups. So he's so happy. He's so happy about working with others, like being with the group. He's happy, excited. So he's going to maybe have a lot of drinks. Queen of Wands, honorable. So he's a very, you know, he's shining. There's something about him. He doesn't have like bad intentions, like. But I think that there's something about him having a lot of fun, probably like being, exposing like just being funny and just being goofy, and yeah, with the Page of Swords, it can be like prematurely him saying something, or maybe saying something that people are like, oh my god, what did he say? What? And maybe he's just been playing with people. Also, he's playing with people because he's like, I know people are going to talk about this, so he's sort of playing with people. He's playing with people. He finds it funny that people talk about certain things. Like, he's like, I know they're going to make a clip of this and play it many times. Either he talks in riddles, like he acts mysterious, or he drops a word or says something, so people will be like, oh my god, like we have to analyze this or review this. What did he say? What does this mean? It feels like he's giving you, can guess what's up. He's not being serious at all, not at all. We have the Nine of Cups, we have the Three of Pentacles. He's so focused, he's so satisfied with the teamwork, with working with the group. There's a lot of work. He's so happy, he's so satisfied with maybe he's in the comeback, maybe. So he's happy. He's happy, he's been goofy. Queen of Wands, honorable. So yeah, he's not serious. He's not serious. He's just been happy. Maybe it's overjoyed. There's something about emotions floating. But yeah, the Page of Swords, it can be that he sounds a bit immature. It sounds a bit immature. Premature, I would say. There's certain things that he wants to say, but he doesn't know how to say it. So it sounds a bit odd. Like, why do you bring this up? But he wants to. There's a bit of drinking in there. So I would watch it with the drinking. Somehow for him. Okay, for Sunhan we have Knight of Cups, Nine of Cups, the Queen of Cups, the Ten of Swords, and we have the High Priestess. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles, gratitude. So yeah, he's feeling very grateful. He's feeling very like, so emotional. And, it's going very opening, like, I don't want to say like eye-opening, but there's something about him feeling more the love, or him being able to also express love for others more than the fans, maybe opening up about his love for, sorry guys, I got disconnected. He has a hard time, there's a bit of boundaries. He feels a bit like, is it okay if I express my love and admiration for someone or for an artist, or say that, because he like still like, I don't know if it's okay for me, it's safe for me to love, to show appreciation or to show that he really likes someone. Is it safe? Um, yeah, 10 of Swords and the High Priestess. He still has a bit more to deal. But it's just a very secret. He will probably show a very positive attitude towards the fans or the camera, because he doesn't want people to get, like, oh my God, like, here you are again talking about what happened. He feels like it's just it's so hard. It feels like a lot of betrayal also, for him. That maybe he has a hard time also letting go of that betrayal. I don't know what betrayal it is, but it feels like, but somehow he advises about there's something that happened to him that is besides the sort of rumor or scandal that happened. Someone did something to him on purpose. Someone's ruined something for him in purpose, and maybe made. Sorry, guys. He cannot hint, about who it is and what happened, because he's been advised to let it. He's sorry. He's feeling very grateful for the opportunities for this year, for everything that has been going on with him. So yeah, people don't fully understand what he went through. It's bigger than this, that about his relationship or his past relationship being exposed. There's a bit of betrayal also from someone about it. He's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. It's just that this year is still, it's just that I think that there's a woman, there's someone that wants to help him out or wants to include him in her promotions, or there's like a female artist, there's someone that is like, I want to work with a very very experienced one. Hello. I'm going to have to go, guys, because my internet is acting weird. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I will go as well because my internet is acting weird. Like, I will come back on Wednesday. Create like, bye Fluffy, create a community post so you can guys leave your recommendations. Also, I have to feed Kali because Kali here is, um, see, it's her time. It's her time. She's like calling me. I don't know if you can see. She just woke up from her nap. It's her lunchtime. But yeah, guys, if you have recommendations for Wednesday, let me know. I will create a community post. I think that I will continue with the Pisces people, but it's really funny because the internet, I think that is working better now that I moved the phone. But yeah, guys. Wednesday is going to be the next live stream at 2 p.m. my time, Argentinian time. So have a lovely weekend. Thank you so much for being here, for stopping by, for saying hi. I love to see your names. I know that it's Sunday, so I'm sure that you guys have are resting. I don't know what time is it over there, but I wish you a great Sunday and the beginning of the week, and I'll see you on Wednesday, okay? Bye.